wondering whether they would go with this, but they did. And we got to gather all
And the first question is, what are barriers that you feel artists of color face in theater?
What barriers do artists of color face in the theater? We've talked a lot about the barriers that we face, but it's in terms of casting specifically.
I would say access. Just having access to the powers in the room is really difficult. The conversation that's been going on for the last few days about most theaters in this country have been run by white men, and and therefore they're not choosing plays about people of color because that is not their experience or how they understand the world. And so then how does a person of color get in the room when they're doing Death of a Salesman? Not that that's not a great play, but unless they're going to either be really open with the casting or make it specifically about an Asian family or a Hispanic family or something like that.
I think one of the things that came up during the conference is the aspect of having to wear multiple hats, that a person has to be an artist and an activist and an advocate, and it can be very exhausting wearing all of those hats. And that one way to mitigate some of the exhaustion of having to wear all of those hats is to reach out and form as many connections, partnerships, and alliances as possible.
Just touching on that too, there's a need, or what I see around me is that artists of color are creating their own companies, creating their own work, because they're not getting cast or seen by the mainstream, so it feels like a much more vibrant and creative place to be, but it is exhausting and frustrating when you are producer, artist, advocate.
The road less traveled.
What is a assassination that you would like to see in
There are so many. In terms of, talking about the proliferation of older white individuals in the decision-making roles in theater companies. I think diversity happens at the top. And that can affect the lower level decisions that happen, including casting, including the selection of the works. And so if you have, diverse individuals at the top, I think that starts the process that can be a shift that facilitates other seismic shifts.
The fact that OSF is producing a play or a couple of plays by artists of color, Asian artists, is pretty remarkable. But what occurred to me as you were talking is there's, say, Signature Theater in New York, which does the same playwright for the whole season. And they've been doing mostly white playwrights for the whole season. I think they've done Adrian Kennedy's work too. But why not a whole season of an Asian playwright, or an Asian American playwright? And so could a well-established, quote-unquote, white company produce a season that is completely about people of color? Doing a play is great, but that's not enough. We want more room at the table.
I would like to see a shift nationally in how our culture perceives stories about and by people of color. That it is both something special and something that is not other, that is everyone's. Both and, as I've been hearing a lot here.
What is a seismic?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
What is a seismic work that has changed or affected you?
A seismic work, as in like a piece of theater? Yes, it's going to sound like a shameless plug. But we're both in the play Purple Cloud by Jessica Huang, produced by Mu Performing Arts, directed by Randy Reyes. And for us, we are both mixed. We're hot. So part Asian, part white. And this play, doing this play, getting cast in this play, being in the rehearsal room where 5 of the 7 actors were Hapa, was the first time in my career of over 20 years in theater of actually playing somebody and being around people that were like me. Normally I get cast Hispanic or white or something in between those, never Asian because of the way I look. But it was so empowering. And then to come here and share the work, and we sat in on the panel discussion where it was about being mixed, and that was overwhelming. Being surrounded by these other artists and hearing the same words come out of their mouths that have come out of ours in our frustrations and our experiences.
Really validates the work that we're doing in this play and the artists that we are a part of.
Yeah, and it feels like a new thing because there's something about when theaters look at playwrights or look at plays to choose for a season, and they're going to do the African American play, or they're going to do the Hispanic play, or they're going to do the Asian play, but it's not the Asian American play, it's not the Mexican American play. And so you're hearing about the history of these cultures, but not necessarily the experience of the people who have tried to assimilate them. And it's a slightly different viewpoint.
Well, in the Hot Asian Everything extravaganza, I think my favorite piece that I saw was the excerpt from Chairs and a Long Table, when one of the characters takes his hands and he just slams them down on the table and says, "Give me the fucking ball." I think that scene, and in particular that moment, captures so much of how it feels to be a performing artist of color.
Yeah, I want to read that play.
Is there anything else that you'd like to say about the festival, about being here?
It's been inspiring and emotional and exhausting and wonderful. I wish I had come before.
I'll be coming again. For sure.
Yes, I also agree that I would love to come back, and it's been wonderful to meet so many AAPI artists from all over the country, because it's one thing to know intellectually that you're not alone, but it is so much more encouraging and inspiring to experience being not alone.
Sure. Thank you so much.